All right, welcome everybody to our Wednesday afternoon team call. I'm super excited. I don't want to spend too much time on announcements, but just remember that we have a few more days left of the No Excuse November, which is $20 off any challenge pack over $150 or a completion pack. Remember that coaches and customers can get a completion pack or challenge pack. So it's a great opportunity for you to help your disengaged or inactive coaches get re-engaged with an awesome deal, and also help your new customers and coaches get started. Also, remember that we have the 9-week Control Freak launch coming up. I get most of the information that I'm getting and learning from that on the Beachbody Champions page, but we have been doing masterminds with our Diamonds and Above weekly on Thursday mornings. And I'm not the most organized person and leader. So as I was chatting with them, we have great leaders on our team who are putting together a Google Drive with tips on inviting, and this is where you find your sample workout, and this is like the step-by-step of how to do the launch. So as we get that put together, we'll make sure to share that with the entire team inside of the Dynasty Strong team page. And if you're not in that page and in your leaders page, they'll make sure to pass that info on to you guys if you guys don't already have something. So let's get right to our topic, to our speaker today. We have Mallory Landry. I met Mallory for the first time. I'm not sure if she remembers, but it was at a Success Club party at Summit. She was a guest of Beth Isbell. She was there with Beth. She's one of Beth's coaches. And that's the first time I got to meet her. And then I've just seen her grow with her business and her leadership over the past 3 years. She's 35 months in Success Club 10. I want to repeat that, 35 months in Success Club 10. She's a 3-star diamond. She's opened up a second business center. So she's building an entire second business as she is building her first business. She is a mom of 6, and I've just pointed something out. Mallory, I haven't said this, but when I went to the team retreat that Beth did, I don't remember when, it was less than a year ago in Utah, and you were there. They were doing team pictures and individual pictures, and I look out the window on the deck, and Mallory's in this headstand handstand pose, doing one of her individual pictures. So I was inspired by it. I'm like, man, she is incredibly strong. So she's a mom, she's strong, has an amazing husband, 6 kids, and building this incredible business. So with that being said, Mallory, I want to pass the time over to you for you to share your story and give us some tips on how to be awesome.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. So let's see, where do I start? I actually feel like I started almost 3 years ago at the busiest time of the year, which is about now. I signed up to coach the week before Christmas, which seems insane. But that was the time that was right for me. So, you hear all the time, you can't say the right thing to the wrong person or the wrong thing to the right person. Beth had been saying to me for a long time, 6 months probably at that point, trying to get me to coach and trying to do the thing. And it just took me finding the right moment, which happened to be the week before Christmas. And kind of to back it up a little bit, I actually got introduced to Beachbody. I used to say a decade, and now I'm getting older because I've been doing this for 3 years. So it's actually 13 years ago. I got introduced to Beachbody doing P90X. I was in my 20s, post-college, after discovering late night Taco Bell and keg parties and things. I didn't really know how to get in shape, to stay in shape. I always had been thin growing up. I played soccer, I ran cross country. I'd always been super active. So post-college, I was kind of at this weird, do I not eat? Or do I go for a run? What am I doing here? I have no idea. And so Tony Horton got me, in the middle of the night, and I order Tony Horton in the mail. Well, the DVDs, at least. Tony Horton doesn't actually come in the mail, but I did get the DVDs. And that was my first time ever following any kind of nutrition plan, any kind of workout plan. I had no money because I was post-college in my waiting tables job. So I wasn't going to pay someone to teach me how to work out, but I was willing to pay Tony Horton. So me and my 12 DVDs for 90 days, did it. and I learned how to lift weights. I learned for the first time, like, man, I should probably eat a vegetable every day. Like, not just avoid carbs, like what do I actually need to fuel my body every day? And back in the day, by the way, like our nutrition plans and guides and the like P90X, I had like this huge booklet to work through, and the writing was like really little. So we have so much now that it's incredible to me. I actually didn't know when Beth and I talked that P90X was part, or like Beachbody had more than P90X. I just knew I would like put in my DVDs and it would be like Beachbody across the screen, and I loved it. I don't know. I'm just like, I was triggered by that. Even that little noise got me excited. And, you know, post 20s, you know, have a couple babies, get married, like in the wrong order, but that's okay. I got into shape the first time with P90X, learned how to work out, go to the gym and actually feel comfortable and like kind of feel like a badass lifting weights at the gym instead of like sneaking over to the elliptical and hoping people don't think like, who's this girl think she is? You know, so I figured out how to work out. I had a couple babies and used those P90X DVDs to get back into shape after both pregnancies. And contrary to my like semi-thin frame, I gained like 55 pounds both time I was pregnant. I also birthed like really large children. So there is that. So there was like a 10-pound baby that came out of that, but I still needed to figure out like, okay, so clearly the cookie dough blizzards that I've been living off of for the last 9 months aren't doing me any good. I know better than this. It brought me back to P90X. And then, you know, pregnancy number 2, it brought me back to P90X again. And then, you know, a couple of years later, I got divorced. I was in not the healthiest of marriages and kind of worked through all of that by myself for the first time ever at 29. I paid a mortgage by myself and had 2 children. You know, I post-college had moved in with my boyfriend who became my husband and the father of my children. And he used to do everything for me. I didn't have to pay bills. I didn't have to do any of the things. And so I went through this like incredibly stressful first year as a single mom, just like not really knowing like, oh my gosh, if I lost my job, like I have nothing to fall back on, which is really scary, you know, like having a mortgage in my name and a car note in my name for the first time in my life. And some people are like, cool, I did that at 24. No, not me. I had everyone do things for me. I did have a full-time job. I worked in sales and advertising. And it's actually while I was working at that job that I met Beth. Well, actually, while I was still married, I met her doing pageants. And we both went to a national beauty pageant. Beth went on to become Mrs. United States. I just was Mrs. Missouri, top 10, no big deal. But in doing the things that we did to prep for this national pageant, I got to know Beth a little bit, who was a newlywed at the time. I got to know a couple other girls that we prepped with. Another one is actually a coach on my team now, Christy. And I remember prepping for this national pageant. And like, when I say prepping, you think like, oh, they're going to like make you super ripped. Like they leave your fitness to you, by the way. So I pulled out P90X for this national pageant and got ripped post baby for a national pageant with Tony Horton. Again, we were prepping, like we were learning how to like walk in heels. So like around, get 4 girls that you don't know really at all and throw them in heels and a swimsuit and like practice walking in a dance studio. Like that's how I got to know Beth, by the way. And then that, you know, later that night, we're all getting together and we go out to eat and get to know each other a little bit. So, you know, fast forward a couple of years, when I'm divorced, single momming it, I was in a new relationship, had just bought a new house actually. And the new relationship, I like inherited some children. So I used to have like 2 and now we have 6. So we are real busy, by the way. And my now husband works in entertainment, is incredibly busy. He travels. He used to tour when concerts were a thing. And now he's just here all the time. But with all of those kids and chaos and whatever, here we are in this brand new house. I'm seeing Beth, my coach, my now coach, post these sweaty selfies. And I'd known that she did a fitness competition. So I was like, man, I know she's more into fitness, but I didn't know she was like really taking this to another level. I didn't really understand what she was doing. So she posted something about doing a coach sneak peek, and I was like, oh, I'm going to listen to this. I want to know what this is all about. And I was making dinner downstairs, and she was talking about something, and it was a Facebook Live. And I just remember being like, oh no, like that thing that she's doing on the Facebook Live, talking to people, is never something I'm going to do. Here we are. But so I literally like closed my computer while she was still speaking and just finished cooking dinner. But I was still friends with her on Facebook because she was real cute, and I just kept following her. And she sent me another message, and I think I hopped on another coach sneak peek, and then I just kind of ghosted her for a while. And I actually sent Beth a screenshot of this message yesterday. You know, when you have a challenger that you're like, I just know you would crush coaching. I know it because you show up and you're doing the things, and they're like, oh, you're so sweet. No, thank you. But then they start posting sweaty selfies, and you're like, you're thinking about it. I know you're thinking about it because you're posting those sweaty selfies. That's exactly what I did. I like told Beth I wasn't interested, and I ignored her, but I was like stalking her and posting sweaty selfies, to which Beth would reply, you should join my accountability group, to which I didn't reply, which is evident in the screenshot I sent Beth yesterday, December 3rd, 3 years ago. And a few weeks later, I just had this moment at work where I work full-time commission. I was working full-time commission, and I had an incredibly terrible day at work. I saw Beth post this thing about coaching again because she's so effing consistent and in my face all the time. At least you're cute, so it was great. I texted her and was like, hey, sign me up as a coach. I think I'm ready. Keep in mind, I had not asked one question about how much we make or anything. I was like, I'm ready to sign up. I want to know the details. She's like, texted me back. I'm on the way to the post office. I'll call you in a few minutes. I'm like, cool, fine. And I'm like holding my phone until she calls me, right? Because I'm like ready to go. So she calls me, and she's like, you know, I know you love P90X because I always talked about it. We have this new program coming out. I think it would be such a good fit for you. It's called 80-Day Obsession. The workouts are longer. If you liked P90X, I think you'll love this. Have you ever heard of 21-Day Fix? And I was like, sure have not. No idea what you're talking about. She's like, oh, okay. So she goes on to explain who Autumn is. And I'm like, cool. I'm like already ready. Here's my credit card. Like, sign me up, girl. So she gets me started, and I have every intention of like, I need to make more money. I need to, figure out social media. I don't even know what I'm doing, but I'm figuring it out. So the box comes, and in it is all of the 80-Day Obsession things, these like loops that I've never seen before, a pre and post workout combo, which I'd never used pre-workout before because I was afraid it would like make me feel weird. And I tried one time that felt like my arms were going to like fly off of me. The Shakeology is in there. I know all of this stuff came. I have no idea what I paid for it. It just showed up in a box. I didn't know the difference between Shakeology and the post-workout, so I would like use them interchangeably. And I definitely tried the strawberry Shakeology with water, with no blender. That's like for professionals, by the way. I can do that now and it's fine. But listen, if you've never tried Shakeology before, like that ish is meant to be blended with ice and water. And it says so on the bag, but I don't read directions and I would just do it. So here I am not knowing what I'm doing or drinking or whatever. And I go to work that week and I'm like, hey, there's these two girls. Like if you work in an office around Christmas time, it's like ghost town, right? Like nobody is there. So the two girls that are there, I'm like, I can happily talk about this side gig that I'm doing because no one's working. Here we are. And I'm talking to them about how excited I am about doing this thing. And one of the girls is like, oh, that sounds cool. Like, I'll sign up with you. It's like, oh my gosh, really? Okay, yay. But I got to figure out how to sign you up. So I'm like texting Beth and she's like, have you been through the new coach training? I'm like, I sure haven't. I haven't looked at any of that, which is where like now we joke where she's like, will you just please Google it? Thank you. While I'm signing up, my friend Holly, another girl on the other side of the cubicle is like, what are you guys talking about? So I get her signed up like on my first day as a coach. And I'm like really excited. I think this is like what happens for everyone. I'm like, you just start talking about it and people just start buying challenge packs. This is amazing. Clearly that's not the case. We all know that. But I got those 2 girls in my first challenge group, not knowing what I was doing, having nothing to know about anything. I haven't even like done a workout yet. I was just really excited. And I think that just goes to show you that we don't have to know everything we're doing. We don't have to be experts. We just have to love what we're doing. Like, just love it. And that's how I launched my coaching business. You know, I launched it doing 80-day obsession, not knowing anything about social media. I think I posted like 80 sweaty selfies in a row. Sometimes I was like doing a move, and other times it was a sweaty selfie with like a quote that looks terrible. You should go back and scroll through. It's still there. It's all still there for like evidence for my new coaches that sign up and they're like, I know nothing about social. I'm like, girl, go scroll through my things and go really scroll through to when I just used Instagram as a filter because I didn't know it was a social media platform. What? They should tell you those things when you like sign up, right? Until someone liked my first photo, I didn't realize other people could see it. So here I am launching my business with sweaty selfies and talking it up like crazy. I didn't know what I was doing, but I showed up every day. And you know what I didn't realize when I started 80-day obsession, because I was a gym rat up until that point. I loved the gym. Again, because Tony Horton made me feel like a badass at the gym. I really liked going and like lifting. You're like the only chick with a bunch of dudes at the gym. Feels kind of cool. So launched this business, and I didn't expect, one, to get in incredibly good shape. I didn't expect to fall in love with Shakeology and just feel really good all the time. I didn't expect to develop this routine. I never worked out in the morning. I always worked out on my way home from work. I was in sales, so I would, sneak into the gym on my way home to pick up kids from the babysitter. And here I was, like the fittest I'd ever been, reading personal development. Who was I? Because I totally ignored that piece of it when I started coaching too, because I was like, oh, I'm working out. I'm working on myself. Clearly, no. Like as soon as I started reading for 15 or 20 minutes every day, or listening to the National Wake Up Call, which I actually listen to on Tuesdays on a podcast, because you can listen to it at 1.5 speed, which is like how I run my life. I just changed. Like my mindset shifted. And for the first time since I had been divorced, since I'd been an adult, I felt like I had found my thing. What I didn't say, when I went to college, followed a boy to college to do theater and then didn't know what I wanted to do because I wanted to make money. So I got into sales and I didn't love my sales job. And I was just in this I'd spent a decade trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life. And here I was in my bedroom, working out with Autumn Calabrese, getting in the best shape ever, and finally feeling like I had my ish together. And I just started shouting it from the rooftops. So slowly started growing my team. And, Beth she says this story all the time because I think I'm the person that's like, I'm not signing up my spouse account. I just got divorced. Like, I'm not signing up somebody to work this business underneath me. And then I watched this training video on volume and how you make more money. And I was like, wait a second, you can make 1,000,000 times more money selling a spouse account. Babe, I need your social security number. We're getting this done today. Get them all signed up. I hit Emerald because it took a day, right? Like I had a coach, I had my spouse, I get it done. And then, I'm watching all these training calls on Diamond, on like how to hit Diamond, what to do, how you do it, or whatever. And I signed up in January, went to Summit that June. You guys, do you know what I really think made me hit Diamond? Because I had a few coaches underneath me. It was when I went to get my stuff at pickup, they have all of the coaches go to this line, but if you're a Diamond, you go to that line over there. And if you're a Star Diamond, you're like way down there. And I was like, I want to be in that line though. Like that just seems cooler. It's shorter. They look really nice over there in that Diamond pickup line. Like I want that line. And so after Summit, Beth and I had another conversation of like, okay, here's what you need to do. After I'd watched 1,000,000 videos and I just kind of sort of got it, but I didn't work for it. We got on the phone, figure out like where to place people and what I need to do. And within a couple of weeks, I hit Diamond. And it was just that decision of really wanting it. I knew I wanted to hit it. and then having that extra conversation so that I really understood it and I knew what I could do. So I got it done. So diamond coach, I happily ended my first year ending it as a diamond coach. I was like, this is great. This is the end. I love it. Year number 2 comes around and I had signed up a dozen coaches my first year coaching, probably more than that. I don't even know. It's been a minute. But my year number 2, where I really struggled is helping my coaches achieve success. I was so focused on hitting high success club numbers for me and getting me to where I needed to go. I don't think I paid enough attention to where my coaches needed help. And I always struggled with it. Like, I just didn't understand, like, why aren't they doing this? Why isn't this happening? And it really wasn't until I read, it's probably earlier this year, actually. I read a lot more books on leadership, and it was like, oh, this has nothing to do with them. It has everything to do with me. This has everything to do with the vibe I'm putting out there. I'm not putting out this vibe that I want them to grow. I'm putting out this vibe of me being really self-absorbed and worrying about my own business. So I went all of my first year coaching, signing up a dozen-ish coaches, helping a couple girls go emerald. Not even my spouse, by the way. Didn't get my spouse emerald until my second year coaching. Get them emerald, so I hit diamond. My second year coaching, I signed up about the same number of coaches, and then I got one girl to emerald. And that girl isn't even a current emerald on my team. So I feel like my second year, I kind of was just treading water. Then my third year coaching, which is this January. Actually, let's back this up because Summit happens, right? And like these like crazy ideas come out of Summit and you get really excited. A few months after Summit, as I was in this like, feeling really sorry for myself because it's my second year coaching and I didn't really advance any, October happens and I was like, no, I am not doing this again next year. Next year, I am doing something bigger. I'm doing something better. Our team is going to love this. It's going to be amazing. So as of October of last year, I decided that I was going back to my morning routine, which I had let slide. I started getting up an hour earlier. You hear people talk about this. It sounds crazy. And then when you decide to do it, you're like, oh no, this is the way. This is how it's getting done. So I got up at 4:20 every morning, specifically because that's when my now husband's alarm goes off for work. So I was like, if you're getting up, I'm getting up. I'm making ish happen. In order for me to do that, I had to not drink any alcohol. So I actually, in trying to get a routine, I stopped drinking altogether. And I haven't had any alcohol in like over a year because I refuse to give up this routine. It makes me thrive. And while I still ended last year as a diamond coach with only having one girl hit emerald, it was all of that work that I did, working an extra hour a day before I went, working with my coaches, getting this really super solid onboarding system going for my coaches, and working on my relationships with them. That's where I focused, working on growing my relationships with my coaches every single time they came on, every time they got a new coach onboarded. And so that work that I did between October and December or January of this year set me up to crush this year, you guys. So I showed up at our retreat in January that Beth hosted for us in Utah, which was amazing. I got to meet a lot of Beth's new coaches. I got to spend more time with Scotty and his wife, Gabby. We got to tour corporate, which was super cool. We got to listen to Doug Moss speak in person, which I love. I love hearing the leaders of our company speak. I love because they know our business so well. They can break everything down so simply for us. And Doug Moss said something at that table that I was like, oh, that's brilliant. When you start coaching, I hear Beth say this all the time, you focus on Success Club, right? You focus on Success Club, and then you focus on adding coaches. And then after you have hit Success Club and you get a couple of your coaches, then you help your coaches hit Success Club. And then you do it again and again and again and again. And all of a sudden you have this team that wasn't there last year. And that's what happened with our team this year. You know, I think we worked really hard early on this year, and then COVID happened and we're still together. We're still running. We're still closer because I was working on those relationships with my coaches that used to be like virtual and in person. Well, now we have no in-person anything, right? So these threads that I've built and this Facebook page that I've built, which we'll get to, that became our hub. Like that, those are my girls. Those are the girls that I talked to when I was one job and then trying to run a coaching business, and my kids are running around like crazy. Virtual school has been like insane, right? And then come July, I was reading my vision from this year, which I wrote on January 1st of this year. And my vision for this year was, I want to quit my job by July. I want to hit elite, and I want to take my kids to Disney World. That was it. Simple. Well, I quit my job July 29th of this year. No big deal. Procrastinator in me, I think it is. And you guys, I am hustling my face off with my team today to get us into 5-star qualification that would help us hit elite. And when I tell my girls, like when we have this conversation of, oh my gosh, you guys, I think we're going to hit elite. They're not like, oh, you think we're going to hit elite? They're like, hell yes, we're hitting elite. Like they know it because we've talked about it every day since last October that we would hit elite this year. So that's what we're doing today. We're working on getting our 5-star qualification and hustling for the next few weeks so that we can hold our 5-star and hit elite, right? Like this is a team thing. I think the biggest thing that I've learned from this is that it is a team thing and that it is built on relationships, you know? So as this year has gone, our team has grown. We're continuing to grow. I think as a leader of so many coaches now, I have a few tips that I would like to share with you that I think my team is probably like, okay, we hear you say these all the time, but it's because it's true. The biggest thing I struggled with when I started was social media. I had no problem getting my workout in because I was so excited about it, but I knew nothing about social media. I didn't know what to say, who to say it to, what I was talking about. I say, speak to the audience that you have, right? Speaking to your Instagram followers, your Facebook followers, speaking to the challengers that you already have. A lot of the content that I put out on my social media feed stems from a conversation I've had with somebody on my team, or it's somebody that is interested in doing a program with me because they need that. They need to hear that. And I know if they need to hear that based on our conversation, somebody else out there needs to hear it too. That has helped me simplify all of my, oh my gosh, what am I going to post this week, right? Like when I sit down on Sunday and plan out my social feed, my posts come from what's happening on my calendar that week and looking over the notes that I've made from conversations I've had. I think my second biggest tip is to stay the course. I think, a year or so ago, just a year ago, I was always like, oh, what do I need to do differently? What can I do differently? And I'd hear things on the national wake up call. I'm like, that's it. That's the solution. That's what's going to make me do this. When really, whatever somebody else's system did for them, it's not necessarily going to do for me, but their consistency, them showing up every day and continuing to just stick it out to follow through on your new coach onboarding, or even like when you have a challenger come in and they are struggling, they're stressed out. I always like to think of my coaching business in terms of how I would approach a challenger, right? Like when somebody comes to you and they're like, I'm just not losing the weight. I'm just not having that conversation of like, you have to give it time. Just like you would tell your challengers, you have to give your business time and work through your system, your full thing, your full program, because then you'll know if it worked or it didn't work, right? And with that, my tip number 3, which is the most annoying thing for any of our coaches, use your effing tracker. Every day, all the time, every day. I track all of the things, you guys. I track every conversation. I use the business activity tracker, and I'll be the first one to tell you that coming from a sales world, I hated the business activity tracker when I first started because I had a sales manager at the time that I had these one-on-one meetings, and it was all about, tell me what you did this week. Well, it's not about them, right? Like, this is about me keeping myself accountable. And what I realized is that the times in my business that I have been overwhelmed, that I have been stressed, it was the days and the seasons that I wasn't using the tracker, right? But if I just simplify it, talk about this all the, like, simplify it and just use the tracker. Don't overthink it. Maybe it's the business activity tracker. Maybe it's something really cute that you put on like tie-dyed paper because you hate the business activity tracker. Whatever it is, find what works for you and stick with it. I track everything to a T. Like, I could tell you that I used to have 8 conversations about a challenge pack, about pricing and all of the things to sell one of them. It used to take me 8 conversations. Now it takes me 2 to 3 if you include my follow-ups. But I know that because I'm focused so much more on those relationships that by the time I get to having the conversation about a challenge pack, it makes it a little bit easier. But I track all of the things. Speaking of the tracker, I feel like that gets people like overwhelmed and stressy. I think if you're at a point, especially like the day before Thanksgiving or the month before Christmas, a time that you're in qualification, when you are stressed or overwhelmed, go back to the basics, right? Like, go back to being a challenger. I always say that my best coaches come from my best challengers, the girls that are showing up, that are cheering you on. And sometimes after we start coaching, we lose sight of why we started this, and not even why we started coaching, but why we started a challenge group to begin with. Like, what did we need in our life the moment that we needed to get our fitness on, get our nutrition back in check, right? Do those things and the rest of your business will follow, but you have to start by being a solid challenger. My last one that I'll leave you with is being a believer and a user of daily affirmations and having a clear-cut vision. That was outside of the hustle that goes behind it. If I didn't have my clear-cut vision or my daily affirmations, I wouldn't do the things every day that would get us in a position where my team is in this 5-star qual today, right? Like, it comes so much that a couple of weeks ago, my husband, as I was like, babe, we just need whatever to hit elite. He's like, wait a second. I thought you already were elite. Like, no, it's probably because I'm a psycho and I just walk around the house and I'm saying like, we're 5-star elite, we're 5-star elite, we're 5-star elite. Like, he thinks that we were elite. It's fine. It's fine. He supports us like we are, right? But you guys, it works. Like, you have to do it every day. Like, put them on a sticky note. Be the psycho like I am, driving in your car talking about how you're going to hit elite or do whatever. Like, talk about it like it's happened, because when that happens, you will make yourself show up for it. I promise.
I love those. I took notes, Mallory, on all that. And I always tell my coaches about, like, when I'm talking about vision and goals, about how I used to sit in the hot tub in the backyard and like talk out loud about how our house was paid off and how incredible that felt, like a psycho. I use that word too. I want to reiterate something as I was listening to you on your top tips, because one thing that I've understood and learned is that success leaves clues. And I want to tell a quick story. Gabby and I went to lunch yesterday with one of our coaches. It's a couple, and they were the first ones ever in my challenge groups. When Beachbody created challenge groups, they became coaches. They both became 2-star diamonds. And about 4 years ago, they just kind of dropped off. And it had to do with a lot of things, like the spouse, her brother became very sick. She had to donate organs, which made her sick and low energy. And so it was a really difficult time for them. And in that time, she wasn't working like she used to because she just didn't feel good, right? As she was going through the struggle and the pain of seeing her brother almost pass away and then giving one of her organs. And so we had this conversation yesterday. She just had no energy, stopped working. And she said, I felt like my team just fell apart. And I knew how much work it was to build that. And so I just didn't have the energy to do that, and we just dropped off. And so as I was listening to your story, or as the tips that you were sharing, I'm going to name a couple of them. One of them, you said, stay the course. One of them was back to the basics. Like that's exactly what we talked about with them. And I was like, I've felt like that at different times too, where you might feel like everything right? Everything is falling apart when you're building a business at different times. And I was like, but in all reality, it really isn't all falling apart. That's just what's in our mind. But the thing that I did, because I had a point like this that was extremely difficult as well. So how did we not let everything go away and continue to build, even though there were hard times? Is the thing that I did is I was like, because I'll be honest, some of you guys might not know this, but 4 years ago, I lost about 14 of my diamond coaches to another network marketing company. One of my coaches recruited them away. So we went from 14-star diamond to 4-star diamond, like in a month's time. And so I'm like, it's all falling apart, right? That's how I felt. And so what I had to do in that moment is, these are the steps I took, and I was talking to them about this. I was like, I looked at and realized who we had that was in it and as much love with this as I was. And Beth happened to be one of those people like 3 years ago. So I identified a few people that I could latch onto that had the same vision as me. The next thing is I went back to the basics. I was like, you know what? I built this team with no skills and a passion for P90X, Shakeology, and a dream to make a side income to bring my wife home. Like I did that with no followers, no social media. And so I just have to get back to that. Like, so even though it really wasn't all falling apart and I just lost some things, is I went to work every single day. I stayed the course, number one, like you said, like doing the vital behaviors. And I went back to the basics. I'm going to pretend, like in my mind, I pretended like, obviously I supported and led the coaches that I did have. I found people like Beth. That's the year we helped Chris Pandolfo start working towards winning the $100,000 Beachbody Challenge. We focused on helping people get results with the programs like we did with Chris Pandolfo. I latched onto like Beth, and I went back to the basics, and I was like, I'm going to, like, if I did this with zero skills and talents in the beginning, I'm going to just act like that person right now. I'm going to pretend I have nothing. When I open my office, I'm not going to, because what I was feeling is like, man, we used to be 14-star diamond. Now we're 4. We're missing like $6,000 a week in income from that drop. That's what I was doing before. And then you can't work with vision with that. So I was like, I'm just going to work as if I was brand new and just work on building challengers, building new coaches. And just doing that, what happened is obviously we built and developed new leadership. But as I did that, and working with that type of mindset again, that type of passion, doing the basics, the people that were on our team that were kind of like slowing down all started to rise up again, because like you shared, Beth, or Mallory, about your leadership, was like when you like rose up and believed in the people and the mission, that's when your team did that as well. So I just wanted to like validate those tips that you gave were so good. Stay the course, use your tracker, which is going to help you stay on course, doing the right things, go back to the basics, and then be a believer of the products. Absolutely awesome. We've been 40 minutes. I want to ask, does anybody have a question that you might want to ask Mallory before we hop off?
I have a question.
Yes.
Can you speak even just really briefly about we have obviously the 9-week Control Freak launch coming up, and you talked about how you signed up during the 80-day obsession launch, and I made a mention of this in the chat, but can you kind of speak to the power that you feel like you on your own personal journey, like, because I know 80-day for you is like the program that you go back to when you feel like you need to get like yourself, aligned. So how do you feel like going all in on a program like 80-day not only benefited you in your own personal journey, but your business as well? And do you kind of see like the same opportunity there with 9-week Control Freak?
Absolutely see the same opportunity. I think going through 80-day obsession and using it to launch my business and not knowing any better, right? Like I was just doing the program to a T. I was doing the nutrition plan and doing all of the workouts and, sharing that like 1 of 80, 2 of 80, 3 of 80 in my workouts, because I didn't know what else to do. But leaning into the nutrition side and leading into the full program, that changes your business. And I think, you know, I started as a challenger and a coach really at the same time. So I felt like even during that overwhelm, that almost made my business launch even more, because I had these people following me that like would see me post a sweaty selfie every once in a while because I worked out. But as soon as I made this announcement of like, please follow me on this journey, engage with me in this, ask me questions, and I'll see how I can help you. Once I made it known that they could reach out to me about it and being consistent, that is really what did it. And I think anytime you have the opportunity to use all of these like marketing materials that someone is just giving you, you guys, I used to sell marketing and advertising. Like that was my job. So the fact that I can just go to a website and be like, oh, post, like we have all of the things. It's amazing. There's no like brainstorming needed. You have a plan that is handed to you to say, here, grow your business. Just take it and run with it.
I love that. So I've made the decision. I'm going all in on the 9-week control freak, and I'm going to get crazy with it. I've slackened some of my daily behavior, my nutrition a little bit. And so my main thing, I've stayed true to like really challenging myself with workouts, but my nutrition has slipped a little bit. And I know that that affects my business as well. So like, I'm super excited to do the 9-week control freak and really dive into that. When you did 80-day obsession, I felt the same way. I was a little bit crazy when I did the 80-day obsession. Like I would like run out of, we had 3-hour church meetings at the time. I would like run out from between classes and have a meal in a brown sack out in my car. Like I was doing the time nutrition exactly as it was, but I saw such great results because people saw that energy and the excitement and they saw the results come from it. And then when you do something like that, the belief is there even stronger that it works. And so when you're talking to people, that comes through as well. When I did that with Lift 4, I use this example with my coaches is like I've hit Success Club 10 for like 120 months or something like that consecutively, but it's never very much more than Success Club 10, maybe SC 20 some months, but SC 10 every month since 2011. And when I did Lift 4 and really jumped into lunch, because I'm a Body Beast guy. And so when I hear like 4 days, like 2 days lifting, 2 days hit, like that's just not my style. But I jumped in and just dove into it, did the program, talked about the launch, talked about the opportunity to be like in the VIP test group. Like that month was like, I had my highest Success Club points ever at like SC 40, 2 months in a row. And so it wasn't like, I didn't talk to more people. I didn't change my like inviting strategy other than I said, I'm going on this Lift 4 journey before anybody else. And if you want to do it before anybody else with me and go through this, that created that type of excitement. So I love that your example of 80-day obsession, what it did for your business. Mm-hmm. Cool. Anybody else have a question? I have one if nobody does before we let you go. Mallory, my question to you is it's been like 3 years, right? Almost 3 years in December. How has your life changed since making that decision to be a Team Beachbody coach and leaving your job in July and being full-time at home?
I think my biggest change, well, now I feel like we're all at home because of COVID, but I feel like it's allowing me to be home. You know, I think when I started coaching, I had money on my mind, solely money. And my schedule was insane. I had a 90-minute commute between drop-offs and everything. And so having the opportunity after starting and running this business for 2.5 years in July at this crossroads when we had to decide, what are we doing with the children? Like they need to be virtual schooled. I don't know how this is going to happen while we're both working. Like this is just too much. That's why I started coaching and I didn't even know it, right? Like I had all of these big ideas about what it could provide for my family, not realizing that ultimately it was giving me time with my children, with my family, and giving me the flexibility that I needed and didn't know I needed it until I had it. Being home these last 5 months, I am closer to my family than I ever thought I would be. As a divorced parent, I can tell you the worst thing is getting 50% of that time taken away from you. And I don't feel that pain that I felt anymore, that I've had for years since being divorced, and that's gone. That's something Beachbody gave to me because I now have that time with them back. That's 100% my favorite thing that I've gotten from this.
I love that. Well, I just want to wish everybody that's here in the US a happy Thanksgiving. Mallory, we are so grateful for your heart and your passion and your fun personality, your work ethic, and your leadership inside of this team. And I'm just grateful that you are a part of this team and a part of all of our lives. So anyway, I hope you guys all have a great Thanksgiving with your families, and we'll see you guys on the next call. See ya. Thanks, Mallory.